Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of our live viewers around the world. We're super excited for you to be here with us today. We've got a special guest, someone who needs no introduction. He's a past co-host and now
past,
well, current, present. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Is there something you're not telling me, David? Are you like delivering live news here?
No, it's not.
No, he's the co-host, David.
I mean, you know what I'm saying, though. Like,
he's the OG.
It just feels different. It feels different.
Okay.
It's just sad.
So I think I know what you're getting at, David. I think, and our viewers might be aware of a lot of changes that have gone on at Microsoft this year, right? And one of those changes led to me no longer being employed by the company. And I have continued to co-host the stream with you guys because we're a .NET community stream, right? So it made sense to have some hosts from the community too. But today I'm actually coming on as a guest to share some of what I've learned at the place that I landed.
Awesome.
And I'm really excited to hear about that.
Me too. And I'm sorry for misrepresenting that, Cam. This is why I hate the beginning intro stuff. But all right, yeah, we're here. Should we start sharing right away and jump into it?
So yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and yep, there we go. So I landed at a company called Pulumi, and it was actually thanks to our other co-host, Scott Addy. When I got the layoff notice, Scott Addy forwarded me a listing with Pulumi that he had that he had found somewhere, and I pursued that, and I had some killer references to help me along the way a little bit, and I got on at Pulumi as a senior technical content engineer. And at the time, I was a team of 2, but there have since been some personnel changes, and now I'm a team of 1. So I am the entire docs team after we are a small company. So, but I'm the entire docs team after about being here for roughly 3 months. So I've been learning a lot on the job. I'm sure there's a lot more to learn. I'm sure as we get to some of what we're talking about today, there's going to be questions or things that I misrepresent probably a little bit, or maybe more than a little bit. And I'm going to ask for patience and a little bit of grace. I'm still the new guy, but I'm also the docs guy. So we're going to try and wing this the best we can.
So our first question, what is the content we're going to talk? João is asking.
So we're going to talk about infrastructure as code. Do you guys know what infrastructure as code is?
I know, but I don't know if our viewers.
It's a fancy buzzword. Is that what does it mean though? You lay out the groundwork for us. What does it mean?
Okay, so the idea behind infrastructure as code is if you were to deploy a web application, right? And you've been working on this web application, you're going to go deploy it. And you've got lots of choices about how to deploy it. And you could, for example, go to the Azure portal, right? And do the whole create a resource thing and walk through all that. You could use the Azure CLI, which I don't have installed in this environment. But you could there's lots of different ways you could deploy your app, but none of those, how do you guarantee that it is going to be repeatable and that you can check it into version control or make it part of your CI/CD pipeline and guarantee that it is repeatable the exact same way every single time so that your application is deployed the right way in every single environment? Well, that's where infrastructure as code comes in. Now, a lot of folks, when you say infrastructure as code, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is a product called Terraform. Terraform was made by a company called HashiCorp. HashiCorp was bought by IBM, so Terraform is currently an IBM product. Terraform takes this infrastructure as code concept, and I had a slide somewhere, but I don't know where it is, so I'm not going to dig for it. Terraform has this domain specific language called HCL that they use for defining cloud resources and whatever clouds you're working with. And it's based in YAML. Is it YAML? I think it's YAML. It might be JavaScript. If somebody on the chat knows better than I do, I honestly have not done a lot of Terraform. I haven't done any Terraform, so I might be speaking out of hand here. Anyway, they have their domain-specific language for building cloud resources in code, and they've kind of come to define the industry. And then along came a few other players, and Pulumi is one of those players. So, getting back to my slides here, let's talk a little bit about the value prop of Pulumi over other solutions. Azure has an infrastructure as code solution built in. Do you recognize this, David or Myra? Do you know what this is?
Yeah.
ARM. Oh yeah, very, very familiar with.
Yeah,
that.
I've been getting more familiar as one of the projects that I now own also has all the infrastructure as code. So I see a lot of that. It's like, how do I handle that?
Oh my gosh. And I totally just had an epiphany, like ARM and bicep go together.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like a moron. I'm just gonna put myself on mute, I think.
It's a morning of revelations for David.
So this is an example of an ARM template. So ARM is a JSON document that this is Azure's native infrastructure as code. So if you want to make a repeatable deployments, this is how you define it for in Azure's specific little domain, right? You can see it's kind of wordy. You really pay in the handlebar tax everywhere. Now, Microsoft has a solution to make it a little bit easier to digest and work with. And you already alluded to that, David. That's Bicep, right? But Bicep is another domain-specific thing that ties you just to Azure. So here's our ARM template. Jason, Nasty, let's see what and do you know what this ARM template does before we go any further? What's it creating here?
Storage account that uses the standard app service plan or something like that.
Okay, so it's not real clear to read it either.
No.
All right, so here, check this out. Here's the exact same resource definition in Pulumi.
Wait a second.
Ooh.
It's C#?
That's C#.
Oh my goodness.
So Pulumi actually supports. So the value prop of Pulumi is that we do it in whatever you don't have to learn ARM. You don't have to learn Bicep. You don't have to learn Terraform's HCL. If you're a C# developer, you already know the language you need. If you're a Python developer, we support Python. Python, Node, so JavaScript, TypeScript, however you want to do that. Python, Node, Go, Java, .NET, and our native provider is YAML. And then what they all do at runtime is this is an actual program that runs, and we'll talk more about the program here in a little bit. But what actually happens at runtime is it runs this program and it spits out an object graph that the Pulumi CLI takes, and that object graph is just built in YAML. So you can actually build the infrastructure as code definitions yourself in that native YAML format if you want, but you don't have to. There's no benefit to doing it.
Yeah, right. like Jose is saying, the C# version is.
Yeah, I really like the C# version.
So it
seems similar to something else that's working in this direction of C# and defining infrastructure and
like .NET Aspire.
Yeah,
that's right.
But this was before, so Pulumi was doing it like the right way before. I'm just gonna say, all right, cool. I'm muting myself again.
All right,
Dave is excusing him from the show now.
So here's a I don't know if this is the exhaustive list. I actually didn't make these slides. I borrowed these slides from a colleague. But this is a representation. No, this can't be. This is not 170 providers. This is a list of some of the providers that we support, and languages. So, of course, the big ones are AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and the ability to deploy to Kubernetes. Excuse me. But just about every cloud you can think of, we have providers for it. We have providers for Docker. Like I'm going to show you a little bit later on. I'm using Pulumi in my own in my own home lab environment here to just manage the Docker containers on my server that run my home automation. So here's the basic way it works. We write a program, right? And this program defines the resources we want and their inputs and outputs. And it's a little bit like PowerShell in that we just chain it together. So we define, for example, a storage account. And we're going to use that storage account for an Azure function. The Azure function is going to use that storage account. So we need to set up the whole service principal, right? So you can create, in this example here, where we are creating a program, this program would create the storage account first. And one of the outputs from that storage account would be whatever, and I don't remember off the top of my head all the process that goes into setting up a service principal, but the outputs would be some of that, whatever information you need to create that service principal. And the next resource in the in the program could be the actual function that consumes that service principal to use the storage account. So we just chain resources together like that, building basically, whichever ones are the dependencies first that the other ones depend on. And the neat thing about doing it this way is that we can store configuration for multiple environments, so for the same program. So we call the program a Pulumi program. We call like a class, right? So a class is the definition. Whereas the actual implementation, the production deployment is called the stack. So like that's like where an object is an instance of a class, same deal. That's the program model. And at runtime, we have this program, we run Pulumi up, right? So it's interesting, the company was founded by some of the people that worked on the early versions of .NET Core. So you can tell like some of the philosophy and how it works is very similar to .NET, right? The way it works is you define your program. You have your state information, your local state information in this pulumi.yaml file. You have your environment information for whatever environment you're working at. And you have the program itself, and you just run Pulumi up. Pulumi up uses the Pulumi engine to go out and compare the desired state against the current state. So say your Pulumi program says, hey, I need an Azure storage account. The Pulumi engine has this object graph that says, okay, here's what the storage account looks like with these properties. Let's go out to Azure and see if it exists. Oh, it doesn't exist, so let's create it. Or, oh, it exists, but somebody came and changed the setting, and that's what we call drift. So we're going to set it back to the way that it's supposed to be. And all of that has state and secrets that are stored. They can be stored either in this chart. We have the Pulumi cloud, but you can also self-host a lot of what we're talking about today. Not all of it, but a fair amount of it you can self-host yourself, as it's open source. And with that, I think we can just actually get to showing some code.
We did have a question. So while you're pulling that up, Jose from YouTube's asking, is there like support for Visual Studio? They didn't see it listed along the IDEs.
So yeah, really the only, so the short answer is yes. Like IntelliSense, all of the syntactic stuff that you get in .NET, that's all just by virtue of the fact that you add the NuGet package to your project, you're good, right? There is an extension that you can use to manage what we call Pulumi ESC. So that's your cloud-based configuration and secret storage. There is a VS Code extension for that, but it's not necessary to use it at all. There's not an equivalent in Visual Studio, but honestly, you're not really going to miss it. It's really just like a little, just a tiny little creature comfort that that you can use if you're into Visual Studio Code.
Awesome.
All right.
Ooh, another good question really quick before we get there. So Christopher's asking, can it be used with .NET 4.8 framework?
That is a really good question. I'm going to say probably not. I don't think it can. Do not hold me to that. If it targets .NET Standard, it should be able to, but I don't know if it targets .NET Standard. So unfortunately, I don't have here. In fact, we can go check. It's almost as if I know where the docs are. So, and I'm going to say this as the docs guy, I inherited this doc site. I don't like the way it's organized. And like, I've been given the green light to reorganize everything. And I've been working feverishly on that for the past couple of weeks. And that's going to be going live sometime soon. So like, if you come to this doc, if you're like, hey, Cam really sold me on this Pulumi stuff, I'm going to go play with it. And then you're like, oh man, these docs suck. Understand that Cam is working on that. Okay. All right, so where is the answer to that question? It is under, there should be a language, there it is, languages and SDKs.net. And because it comes down here and there is some place where it talks about.
One of the first steps was install .NET SDK, which already tells me that it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we are only.
That are supported by Microsoft. So while we always officially support the current set of,
and notice they use framework capital F here, and as a .NET guy, I saw that and went, "Oh my god!" So this is going to get fixed too. But yeah, I don't think framework is supported. I think we're .NET Core or modern .NET.
Yeah, I don't know what is the right package to look at, but like the main Pulumi package, just Pulumi on NuGet. It's all the .NET 6, 7, like
and up to 10.
and
Yeah, I pulled that up too.
So I think the answer would be no, but
yeah, good question though. Keep them coming.
All right, so what we're going to do today is I have a little CLI app just to demonstrate, because my colleague, who is a developer advocate for Pulumi, made this demo. And this CLI is just a simple little generate a dad joke. It has a little function that goes and hits up OpenAI. It grabs a OpenAI API key ambiently from the environment variable that I've already set before the demo today. So we'll just .NET run it. Because atoms make up everything. Yeah. Okay. And we'll run it again here, see how quick that comes back. Interestingly enough, I have noticed that this prompt, and again, I did not write this prompt. My colleague wrote this prompt. Generate a clean, family-friendly joke. Just return the joke, nothing else. It will. It generates the same joke all the time.
Oh wow!
And like that's like a really narrow set of guardrails, apparently. Because if we do this long enough, we'll see the same joke come up multiple times. But it's definitely hitting OpenAI, because if I pass a parameter here, let's
I like that one.
yeah.
Why couldn't the bike stand up by itself? It was too tired.
But then we pass in, because we can pass in, a keyword. So I pass in a keyword, Scott Hanselman. Why did Scott Hanselman bring a mini oven to the tech conference? Because he heard he was going to be talking about hot topics. Anyway, so it is actually talking to OpenAI. It is actually generating jokes, even though it has like 3 jokes it rotates between. And what my colleague did was he took this code and he converted it to an Azure function. And we don't really need to go through all of this project. It is the same basic project. The only difference is it has some of the ceremony that goes along with building an Azure function. And it of course, defines a route for getting the joke. It does accept keywords in the query string. But what we're going to do a little bit differently is instead of just hitting OpenAI, we're going to use rather an Azure OpenAI instance that we're going to create along with our Azure function, right? We're going to create, what we're going to do is we're going to create a Pulumi program that goes out and creates this Azure function and creates the Azure OpenAI instance that it's going to use. It's also going to create an Azure storage account because the function needs a storage account to deploy the program. So with that, how are we going to do that?
You tell us.
I am going to tell you. The Pulumi CLI. Pulumi. Let's pop this open. So this is the Pulumi CLI. And like I said, it's really reminds me of like the .NET CLI, the Azure CLI, and I know these are part of like this mindset of CLI driven development, and like we have these like just these experiences that we expect now as developers. But I really like, as I use this, I really feel like the touch of like the same people who built .NET Core on this. And it has Pulumi new, just like we have .NET new, and there is a flag in there somewhere to list, because I am blanking out on what it is. List templates. Pulumi new -L is list templates. We can see all the templates that are built into the CLI, and there's a bunch of them. And the one we're going to use is, we'll scroll up.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, right. Azure C#. So just a minimal Azure C# Pulumi program. You see, we also have F# represented if you're an F# person. We have
no VB.net. Oh, there's Visual Basic for AWS. Okay.
No, it is represented, and VB is supported. Any .NET language is supported.
And there is the Azure Classic there with VB as well.
Interesting.
So Pulumi new, what was it? It was Azure C#. What are we going to name this project? We're just going to take the default. We'll name it Infrastructure because that's the directory we're in. A project with the name. Yeah, go ahead. Demo for on.NET Live. What are we going to name the stack? So remember that slide I showed you earlier. What are we going to name the configuration file that we're creating in this environment? And we can go ahead and call it dev. Might as well.
Yeah.
What Azure location are we going to use? I am Central US.
I was going to say, I usually go for West.
And our new project is ready to go. So let's take a look at what's in that project. So it created a C# project. There's really basically what I showed you in that slide earlier today. This one that it created just creates a storage account. And since we're in here, we're going to .NET build so we don't get those don't get that output anymore. It should. No, I'm not going to fight the C# dev kit today. We'll just build it the command line.
We'll talk to Claudia after the show.
All right. So yeah, this is just making a storage account. So I don't even really care. It's just boilerplate. We're going to kill it. And I am going to actually copy and paste code as we go because I don't have all this code memorized, obviously. And I have the full demo open on another monitor. So we've already added, I should look at a few other things before we go here. The CS project references the main Pulumi package as well as the Pulumi.Azure native package. So that's bringing in like all of the namespaces to deal with Azure resources. So this is how we know what a storage account is, for example. And then let's look at the Pulumi specific projects. You remember it asked us, I'm looking at the wrong one. It asked us what environment we were going to use, they're storing that in the configuration right here for this stack. The dev stack has the configuration for Central US. And then the rest of the configuration that says, hey, this is a Pulumi project and it is built in .NET is in the pulumi.yaml file right here. So if this was Python, the runtime would say Python, go, etc.
And you could have multiple stacks as well, like you show on the slide. You had dev, QA, and prod. You can have like.
Yep. So you could have multiple stacks for the same program to represent multiple environments. Now, all of the examples, most of the examples you're going to see, and like everything I do in the demo today, only ever deal with the one stack. So they only have the one config file. Yeah, but it's the same kind of idea as app settings in .NET, where we have app settings.dev.config or whatever. All right. So let's start building this program. So the very first thing that we're going to need before we need to hit Control Z and not Control. There we go. Very first thing we're going to do before we do anything else is we're going to add a resource group to hold our resources. And then after that, we're going to make our storage account. And that storage account is where we're going to upload the compiled Azure function to deploy from. And like we saw earlier on the slide, let's resize this a little bit. Like we saw earlier on the slide, it's, kind of self-explanatory. Remember what I said, though, about that flow, inputs and outputs, right? We create this resource group here and name it RG. So one of the outputs from that resource group is the resource group's name. So down here, we just refer to rg.name when we're defining the storage account. So we chain them together. Like I said, it's a lot like what you do in PowerShell, where you chain like one function to the next, like you have this output pipeline. All right, so there's our storage account. We're going, what are we making here? We are creating, what are we creating here? Looks like we're just creating a connection string for functions.
So it's like a computed, like it's almost like, it reminds me of kind of like Aspire's got this notion of like a connection string like expression where it's almost like placeholders with like a structured layout. It's very much
like that.
So those will be resolved at like runtime.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So
then we're going to create our OpenAI account. And I obviously don't need to explain all of these properties. I think they're all kind of self-explanatory. And within that OpenAI, Azure OpenAI account, we're going to create a deployment for GPT-4o Mini. And then we're going to set up the actual function itself. And before you can do an Azure function, because Azure function is a product of Azure Web Apps, you have to have a app service plan for it to live in. And we're also going to have a blob container to hold our compiled package that lives out in the storage account. Then we are going to upload the Azure function code. That's this right here. Whoops. So we are uploading, we're going to have function app.zip. It's part of our build process. I'll show it to you here in a second. And that function app.zip, we're going to upload that to the storage account. And once it's at the storage account, we're going to get a shared access signature URL for it. So the function app knows where to get the code. Then the actual function app itself. And again, we don't need to look at all this, but we can look at some of it. Some of it should look pretty familiar if you've done any web apps out in Azure at all. We're setting up app settings, right? And we're setting up all these name value pairs for app settings for our web app. And in fact, again, we're pointing to that Azure OpenAI endpoint because we created the Azure OpenAI instance earlier, and we can take the endpoint as an output from that. And then the final thing that this program is going to do is it's going to have some output. And this could be passed to another Pulumi program, but it's basically just for output for CI/CD or at the command line. It's going to give us the endpoint that we can hit directly in the browser and retrieve our joke. So that's our Pulumi program. I mean, there's not a lot of logic to it, but the neat thing about doing this in C# is we could do loops, we could do if then, we could make conditional statements, we could do all kinds of interesting stuff. And I'm going to show you, in the Pulumi program that I use for my home lab. I am doing something like that. I basically just refactored a little bit to make it read a little bit easier, but you can do things like that because you're dealing in an actual programming language and not YAML. All right, so, and I see a question from Tharik. Is it a replacement for Terraform? Yes, Pulumi is a competitor to Terraform, but the neat thing is it can actually use Terraform packages, like Terraform providers natively. It knows how to use Terraform providers. So anything you're doing in Terraform, you can do in Pulumi. All right, so let's make sure this builds because, like I said, my C# dev kit is like, I don't know what's going on.
Sometimes it could be your linter not recognizing the Pulumi thing as well. I don't know.
Why did it fail? Typer namespace. All right, well, let's
Account.
Live debugging, .NET restore. What's going on here?
All projects are good.
Oh, you know what? It's right. It's absolutely right. There's a number of using statements that I forgot at the top. I've only done this demo once.
Wait for it.
Oh yeah, I'm missing all kinds of stuff up here.
And I was gonna ask you, like, in terms of like how to make sure that those are correct. So
there we go. Woo. All right. So that built. Let's go over to the function before we run this. Let's build this. And I told you that we're going to package it as part of our build process. So our build process at this moment includes a manual step. And that manual step is this shell script right here. All it does is zip it up. It just runs .NET publish and puts it in a zip file. But you could see how you could easily bake this into like an MS build task or GitHub action or whatever. So I'm going to run that manually. I think I run it from this directory. It seems happy. I think it's happy. All right. Let's go back to where we were. So in theory, I'll raise this up a little bit. In theory, we should be able to run Pulumi preview. And it's going to, actually, you know what? I'm going to skip Pulumi preview. I'm going to go straight to Pulumi up because there's actually a preview that's part of the next thing. I'm going to run Pulumi up and it's going to run our program. So it's doing the .NET build. It's going to do, look, it got a little object graph. It says, here's the stuff I need to build for you. This is the stuff. This is the plan. You are deploying your dev stack for your infrastructure project, and you are creating these things as part of this. And none of them exist currently.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. If it goes in the text that you don't have it, then the plan would be update or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you change something in the config. Okay.
Yep. So and it's going to give us these outputs that we specified. So do we want to go ahead and perform this? Yes, we do. Now, you're going to probably wonder, how does it know what Azure account we're on or whatever? Before we did this, I already logged in with the Azure CLI. So we're using my Azure credentials. It's pulling, it's using, because it uses Azure Native, the Azure Native SDK behind the scenes, it's pulling in my credentials ambiently from the environment. But obviously you can use anything that, Azure Azure default credential does, and in your CI/CD pipeline, and it'll do the same thing. So, do we want to perform this? Yes, and it'll take a minute. It's actually surprisingly quick. And while it's doing that, it says view in browser. We actually have a live view in Pulumi Cloud of the deployment as it's going.
So it's gonna like provision and then push all the different things like the resource group, the storage account, the app service plan, the storage, all that stuff. That's amazing.
Yep. While we're waiting, are there any other questions from the audience? I'm looking at the chat right now. I see one. Is the Pulumi diff engine proprietary? My experience with Bicep ARM. So there's a lot of false positives, which makes it hard to trust. I don't honestly know what they're using for a diff engine. Policy and drift is a big part of the product, though, and like I know there's a lot of product development going on in like the policy area. That's like the whole idea is detecting and remediating drift. So I would presume that if there is a diff engine that like whatever diff engine exists out there for ARM, yeah, I don't know if that's proprietary or not. But I would presume that they know what they're doing there. Is basically what I'm getting at. Does Azure Native deploy directly to Azure, or is this via Pulumi Cloud? So this is actually happening from the Pulumi engine here locally. Oh, it's done, by the way, I think. So this deployment that happened from my environment was actually happening from my environment. The only thing that was being stored in Pulumi Cloud is the state of the deployment and the log of the deployment. I'm going to show you a little bit later on when we talk about what I'm doing in my home lab. I am storing some configuration values in Pulumi Cloud, but the only thing that we used here for this demo was just like logging for the deployment. All right, so it's up. So we should be able to hit this endpoint right here, and we should get a joke. Well, it looks like we got a dad joke. Yep. See, I told you. It only knows like 3 jokes. We'll just sit here. Yeah, there's another one like that because the teddy bear was already stuffed. Because it was too tired again. And if we say keywords, let's do Scott Hanselman again. All right. So it works. We did that. There we go. That's the main demo. That's the value prop. We deployed an entire Azure application, and it is live. And we did it all in C# code. We didn't touch the Azure portal. In fact, we can go out to the Azure portal here. That's why I had it open.
Can I share the URL? It was working for me. I manually typed it in because I'm a nerd.
Yeah, go ahead. Where are my resources? Resources. Here we go. So yeah, you can see there are. Actually, go to the resource groups.
I got the bicycle.
I did too. Why did the bicycle fall over? Because it was too tired.
There's another deployment out there from when I did this earlier that I didn't tear down. I don't know which one is the one that I didn't tear down, but that's okay because I'm going to show you how to tear one down. So we did Pulumi up to To deploy it, how do you think we tear it down?
Pulumi down.
Close. No, you would think that, but it's actually Pulumi destroy, which sounds it's a lot more satisfying for me, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to go destroy the stack, so it's going to go tear everything down. And do I really want to do that? Yes, I do. So that is Pulumi with C# and Azure. So this is a good opportunity then to talk about what I did in my home lab. So, hey, David, what's my favorite hobby?
Making your house smarter than every computer in the
Anything
world.
IoT.
Right. Yeah.
There you go. IoT. I like my IoT, don't I? And what is my home automation thing that I use? If I remember,
home automation.
It's called Home Assistant.
Home Assistant. I was like, I know it has home on it.
So this is my server here in the basement, and it is running, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Docker containers. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, 10. All right, it's running 10 Docker containers. The main one is Home Assistant, and you see I'm running the 2025.10.1 tag. I'm running a bunch of stuff to support Home Assistant, like various projects that I have around the house. My OpenVPN server, my Octoprint server for 3D printing, mini DLNA for audio. So yeah, that's my lab. 10 Docker containers. In addition to this, I have another machine that is a Raspberry Pi that is actually located in my bedroom. And the reason it's in my bedroom is up on the top story. It's like in a central location, and it has the antennas for all the various radios that I do for home automation, Zigbee and Z-Wave. And that's my network, right? The home assistant lives on the main server, and remotely the radios are sitting there in the Raspberry Pi, and they transmit data to the server from all the sensors around my house and locks and things like that. When I started Pulumi, this was all in Docker Compose. Actually, I should have stayed out in the server because I think I still have. Yeah, I had it all in Docker Compose, right? So Docker Compose is YAML, and it defines basically, the name of the service that we're creating, what we're going to name the container, what image we're using to create the container, and then the volumes the container are going to use, and some other.
I think you're pronouncing YAML wrong. I always pronounce it YAML. It's like the worst.
Yeah, I have to put a little YAML, little disdain in my voice. Nobody likes YAML. Nobody likes YAML. Anyway, Docker Compose. I wanted to get rid of YAML. I'm not going to show you my other Docker Compose files, but some of them were so bad I had secrets in them. Like for my what's called Mosquito. It's an MQTT. It's a message queue for home automation and IoT. My Mosquito server, I actually had the credentials for that in the Docker Compose, which I didn't feel good about it at the time, but I didn't feel like doing anything else. So one of the things that they asked new employees to do at Pulumi is, hey, go build a project with Pulumi. And I thought, hey, this is going to be great. This is my opportunity. So let me show you what I built. So we've talked about the 2 servers that I have, and they're all running. I'm running everything in Docker containers. The first thing we do in my program here, the first thing we do is we pull in pulumi.config. And what that does is it uses my Pulumi login, again, gets the authentication ambiently from the environment, uses my Pulumi login to go pull my Pulumi cloud configuration, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Then I'm going to define 2 providers for this Pulumi program. So every stack is going to have these 2 providers. These are both we don't have our IntelliSense because, like I said, the Azure C# dev kit is not cooperating, or C# dev kit rather. It's not cooperating, but trust me, this is a Docker provider. Docker's Pulumi.docker.provider, I think. And we have one for the server, right? So we're going to pull the server host IP address from the configuration and slap a SSH protocol identifier on there. And that's one provider. And we're going to do the same thing with the Raspberry Pi, what I call it the IoT gateway. We're going to pull its IP address out of config as well. And then we build the containers. So I just made this one nice little definition of a list of container config base, and we have this collection of containers, and we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the server, and the 2 on the IoT gateway. So let's take a look at that container config base to see what I did. And really all I'm doing is I'm taking the provider in the constructor as well as the config object and what I want to name it. And it pulls everything from the config, and that's all it does. That's it. It says we're creating this we're specifying the name on the container args that we're creating the container, and then when we iterate through the collection for each one of those container config bases, we grab whatever the image is in the container args, and prop it up using the provider that was specified. So if the server provider was specified, we take this image and we create a container from it on the server. And if the IoT gateway was specified, we use that instead. Now, a lot of magic here is hidden by the fact that I'm using Pulumi ESC to store a lot of this configuration. Let's go look at that. And the reason why I told Jose earlier, it doesn't matter that there's no tool for for Visual Studio proper is this is all in the cloud too. Where is my? There we go. So we'll go to my environments, and I have no qualms about showing you my environment because, as you can see, it's the secrets, things that I've specified as actual secrets are encrypted. But the configuration is stored just as YAML. It can be stored in Pulumi's cloud, or the really cool thing about this ESC product, or they don't really call it a product anymore, but this ESC capability of the Pulumi platform. Really cool thing about it is it could be used as a front end for other secret providers. Like I could be storing my secrets in Azure. I'm blanking out on the name of the product.
Key Vault.
Key Vault. Thank you. Yeah, I could store it in Key Vault. I could store it in whatever AWS's secret product is. You could also use HashiCorp's secret product. But I'm just leaving everything in the Pulumi cloud because it's
Scott, Addy, and Jeremy Sinclair are both watching and shouting Key Vault in the chat.
Yes, thank you guys. How many times have I done Key Vault in a demo? I should know that, right? So my configuration and secrets are all up here, and that's what gets pulled out at runtime. I run Pulumi up, and it goes and it does its thing. So I actually checked before our stream today to see, hey, maybe I get to do a demo, and it turns out I do get to do a demo with my home lab. Let me see if I can find the browser tab. See if I kept it open. I didn't. So I won't show you the Docker hub, but so you can just trust me on this. The Home Assistant image tag that I have deployed right now, I'm currently running 2025.10.1. And in fact, we can prove that. How do I prove that?
It's like trust but verify.
Yeah. So this is the program. This is the directory, right? So program.cs. This is the program that I just showed you. This is that Pulumi program. Pulumi stack. There is actually, I think I could we'll just run Pulumi up. I haven't changed anything. So we'll just run Pulumi up. It's going to say, oh, you haven't changed anything. What do you mean? All resources unchanged, so no need to perform the update. We're going to change a resource though. We're going to change the image for Home Assistant from 2025.10.1 to 2025.10.2. And now watch, as soon as I hit save on this, you're going to see this version number iterate because it keeps the config versioned in the cloud, which is also cool. So now we're on version 26. We just deployed 26. So I'll come back over here and I'll run Pulumi up. And just to prove that things are happening, I'm going to grab Home Assistant window. All right, so it noticed right away. It's like, okay, that image that we have is no longer the right image, so we're going to replace that. And as soon as we replace that image, we're going to have to replace the Home Assistant container. Do we want to perform this update? Yes, we do.
Your entire house goes down.
So no, well, and that's why I brought the Home Assistant window over here. Is as soon as it loses connection, you're going to see down here, it's going to say, I can't do, it's going to lose its connection. Yeah, there we go. Connection lost.
Cam's gonna have a robot enter his office soon and like physically remove him from this house. Like
That's so cool.
This will actually probably go pretty quick because it's just a point release.
Sure.
The image update probably isn't that big, but that said, it usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes for Home Assistant to come back up.
Sure.
So
in the
that's
meantime,
probably
we did have a question if you want to answer this real quick. So Jeremy is asking in chat, how does Pulumi's deployment model compare to Terraform?
Jeremy, I don't know. I don't know if you were here earlier when I mentioned it. It can use Terraform's providers natively. So I mean, if you're dealing with a project that already uses Terraform, it's a pretty clean lift to get into Pulumi. But as far as the deployment model and how, like, where state is stored, like in the cloud, or you can, like I said, if you don't want to use Pulumi Cloud, you can self-host parts of this backend. You can't self-host all of it. Some of that is the Pulumi closed source, product that goes along with, basically the cloud. But you can self-host some of it. Unfortunately, I don't know how Terraform does their deployment model, so I can't really speak to directly to that question.
Oh, sorry.
So this is and we can, so it's still doing that. So we have something to look at. Go back out to my server again. Docker, is it log or logs? I can never remember. Tail 1000 Home Assistant. Is that right? No, it's still pulling the image. Yeah, we're not going to get it back up probably in time for the stream today. So that's probably a good place to tie it up.
Yeah, that's
awesome. I just said that. It's so awesome.
I love it.
It's really cool.
If you want to play around with what we did today with the AI, there is the link here. Whoops. Nope. How did stupid Google Sheets. That's been one of the biggest learning curves after being at Microsoft for 13 years and then going to a company that uses Google Workspace. It's like nothing is where it's supposed to be. Anyway, there's the link. You can screenshot it or whatever. Cam, is there any official MCP for Pulumi? Yes, there is. Yes, we have. There is. Because I just helped review the documentation for it. I don't know where that documentation lives today because I've been living in my new documentation organization scheme. But yes, it does support MCP. We also just rolled out. We also just rolled out Pulumi Neo, which, I mean, I'm going to say this to 2,000 of my closest friends. I don't know how we can name this thing Neo and put sunglasses on it. Anyway, there's Neo. Neo is Pulumi's AI agent. It is really smart. Some really smart people have been working on it, and like you can come in and say, here's my infrastructure problem, here's what's messed up, go fix it, and it comes back like 20 minutes later, says, hey, it's fixed, what's next? So it's really impressive. So we just rolled this out last month, and we were really excited about that. So yeah, we
Awesome.
make use of all the AI things.
Cool.
This was a great show, Cam.
Yeah, this was great. Is this am I supposed to play the D and C? Because I'm going to play it and then we can talk about it a little bit too. But there's a teaser video for, is it .NET Conf coming up, right? So I'm going to play this.
So I just want to say that if Warner Brothers sues Pulumi for Pulumi Neo, they better sue .NET for that.
I was gonna say, what are we gonna have Neo at .NET Conf?
The Matrix, totally Matrix vibe. It's perfect.
But that's a good cue to what we're gonna have next week as well.
Yeah. Okay, let me see who we have now.
We're having Jeff Fritz.
Oh, Jeff Fritz. Oh, another.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about .NET Conf, and I saw some questions about what's coming in .NET 10. So we'll make sure that Jeff is prepared to all of those questions. That's
awesome. Yeah, I am definitely looking forward to that. I just wanted to say, like, in the video, I saw Fowler doing like the box jump. I don't know who was riding the mountain bike, but I wish I would have been in that because
I think it's Beth.
Okay, that's good to know. And then there was Maddie. I saw her singing in her band.
And diving, scuba diving.
She does. Okay, scuba diving. Okay, and
then
then
Hanselman's kicking.
Yeah, Hanselman's kicking butt, kicking a board. Who else was in there? Was that Jared Parsons running the marathon at the end? I thought Tanner.
I think it's Gerald. I think it's Gerald. No?
Okay. Nice. Wow. It just
someone from who is in Netherlands? I think it's Gerald who's in the Netherlands, right? I think like someone in Europe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow,
we have
really
a lot of good athletes and performers on the team. So yeah, .NET 10 will kick ass.
Yeah, I love it. Cool. All right. Well, with that, thank you, Cam, for being here. This is a special moment for us. Reunion. Love it. And
I never went anywhere.
I know. I'm still saying it. It's the whole thing. Anyways. All right. Love you guys. Bye.